Trying to. Okay, it's time. Well, let's call the meeting to order. Additions to the agenda has been proposed. Liquor license for Dee's Back Alley, and also we want to put the warrants on. Is there any other additions to the?
Mr. Chair, I would move we accept the minutes with the addition of the liquor license and the warrants as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Agenda's approved. All right, okay, public comments. Anybody here for the purpose of public comments?
Are you gentlemen here as well? Public?
No, I think not.
No, they're agended.
Okay,
So
that's me. Are you ready?
we're ready.
I don't know.
Please come on up.
Good answer. Okay. So my questions refer to the article I read in the Herald of Randolph dated October 19 about last board meeting. So I quote, "State has determined there's a wetland above the road." What state organization are we talking about?
The one hired by the one hired by D&K. So
Okay, so is it the EPA? Is it
it's
the,
not the EPA.
okay,
It's, I don't remember. but
A&R, what is that stand for?
Agency of National Resources.
Natural.
Okay. So where is the wetland they're referring to specifically?
It's on top of the hill, on top of
The
Clay Hill.
hill.
Yeah, on my property on top of Clay Hill.
So you go up.
I'll tell you what.
What?
It's got orange flags all over it. Go up there, you'll see the orange flags
Pink
all over the
flags.
place, pink, they're about 6 inches high.
Right.
On a
they're
wire.
pink.
You'll see them.
So
And-
that's not something that Du Bois and King's surveyors put there, that's
No,
put there by the
No,
state?
that was put there by the people who are licensed by the state to do environmental surveys.
Okay,
We can get you their exact designation. There are folks who go out and look for such things.
okay, so the state has already investigated and determined that the area is a wetland? Yes,
The state, no, I should say, the contractor licensed by the state to go look for wetlands has said there is a wetland there. They found liverworts, tiny plant you can barely see in the mud. They took core samples in about 20 locations down to 3 feet. They found an absence of iron. And when you have an absence of iron, that means there's been water standing there for, more than a couple years, and it's a wetland, and they would, so anyway.
so is it protected by the state of Vermont?
No, that would be a class 4 wetland. At best,
Your field is a
yes,
class
yeah.
4
No,
wetland?
at best it would, no, class 4 is, you're protected, so it's not. It's not.
Okay, so it's not a
Yeah,
class 4.
But it is, Vermont likes its wetlands. I talked to Scott Jensen about it later. He was aware of it and said that, there could be a discussion in terms of, who's gonna have to, if you have 60-degree slope and you can't move the toe because the river's there and there's a wetland on the top of the thing, something has to give to get a 30-degree slope.
Right,
So the town has the right and the authority to maintain the road. So there will have to be discussion between the folks who set the position of the toe in the river and the folks who want to preserve wetlands. And he assured me one way or another, there'll be an accommodation.
so when were those little flags put there? Because I noticed they were there right after Du Bois and King's surveyors were there.
Yes, 2 days after Du Bois and King surveys, the environmental team, I wish I could remember, came over and put the flags in.
Okay, so who is the contact person through this A&R resource?
Probably be best for me to go through us,
Uh-huh.
if you're gonna talk to them.
Okay.
It's a contract with them, with us, and we don't, we have to be
Okay,
careful.
so it's the board who's contacting
Yeah,
with them. Is
yeah.
did they put together a report
Not
about
yet.
their
We'll see-
findings?
We'll see, no, they will, and we'll see the report when it's ready. The top of,
That's a rather open-ended thing.
no, we have to let the process go.
Well,
And,
if it happened, let's see, the surveyors were there on the 4th of October. It has been almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think you'll find that people like, Fish and Game and Agency of Natural Resources and things, a month is very fast with that agency. So, it hasn't been a month yet. I think we need to at least give them a month. And what we are hoping for, and I spoke to John Ansley and said, hey,
Who's John Ansley?
he is the project manager with
Okay, for
DuBois
the
and
Boy
King.
and King, yep,
And-
okay.
And because the drillers that can do good core samples are not gonna be available until early in November. First it was 17th, then it was 25th, now it's early November, saying, hey, what's going on? This looks like a pattern here, John, we need to know. And so after consultations with the highway committee that's working, the town highway committee that's working roads right now,
Yeah,
we're going to assume that we pretty much have down in the base what we have at the top, which is worst case, it's clay. And if the rumors are right that it's clay further down, that would give you a certain design. The only thing that is puzzling is, why is that still there? It shouldn't be. Due to the angle, the composition of the soil, the toe, the height, the water energy line, that road shouldn't be there. So something's holding it up. So there's
well,
good
it's
news
been there
down
for
there
80
somewhere.
years, I mean, more than 80 years, but it's been there 80 years since the last slide.
I hear you. State has thumb rules, and those thumb rules have tried and true. They've saved lives, and we would be absolutely reckless if we disregarded them without knowing why. So,
Okay,
anyway,
so who advised the state of the potential wetland? Where did they get the information that there was a wetland?
okay. Can you all get on the agenda? 5 minutes is public comments, all right?
And then,
I thought it was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
so it is 5 minutes, but also if you send your questions ahead, we can
Yeah.
answer them without being in
Yeah.
the. select
Okay,
meeting.
so,
But
Yeah.
when it comes to something like looking for a wetland and any kind of project this scale, where it involves the municipality and state and or federal funds, you're required to do a survey within the project boundaries to identify any potential natural resources.
so it was B
meaning-
and K.
Yes. there's
Okay,
some
that's the answer
contract.
to my question I'm asking. I won't take any more of your time,
Okay.
Victoria.
No,
No, you're
just-
okay. I'm
get
not
on-
trying to hurry you along. I'm just.
No,
trying to
I'm
explain-
conscious of the
No,
fact
no,
that the
it's a
board
lot.
has an
Yeah,
agenda.
get on the agenda and we can take the time it needs.
How long does it take to get on the agenda? How many days ahead of time?
I need to know at least the Friday before the. meeting.
Okay, well, I did that last time and you told me the agenda had already been set.
It was the day before. I need to know the week.
Oh, so
before
the Friday
meeting.
before,
No
okay.
later than like
But-
noon time on the Friday.
All right, so let me move on so that I'm not wasting your time.
You're not wasting our time, it's just that our time is already filled.
Okay, so the clay determination, let's go back to
Yeah.
that. The Harold Randolph says the core sample came up as clay. Was there drilling? I mean, I thought core samples had to be drilled.
No, the only samples they took and it was not the people who analyzed the sample, it was the environmental people who took a hand auger and drilled down 3 feet and said, it's clay. It's
Where'd
clay
they do
without
that?
iron." On the very top.
Up top,
Where
not
where
down
the
on the
flags are,
road.
on my property where the flags are.
Okay,
You can go up
alright.
and look, feel free to
All
walk
right,
all over it. We used to call it a wet spot in a hayfield. It's now wetland. So
okay.
anyway,
Well, then my field's probably a wetland too.
don't say that.
Yeah.
You may not like
Um,
your answer,
Yeah,
you know.
okay, so then, so the geology drilling is gonna be November, early
Yes.
November. Do we
Yes.
have a date or no?
Well, no, but what we've asked them to do, assume we have down below what you have now, which would be worst case, clay. What design would that have you do? And the big question is there a temporary remediation, mitigation, is that the right word? I think it is, mitigation we can do before the construction season is over so we can get traffic through there. And
Yeah.
so that's the question. What are we looking at? 2 weeks? Have you talked to John? He said he was
I
gonna
have
try
not
to get
spoken.
something in 2 weeks, but
That
we're
would be the
asking a
drilling
lot.
results?
No, that would be,
be some preliminary design by mid-November, which I believe I had emailed you
Yeah.
as well.
Yes,
That
yes.
they're
So-
working to get that. that to us.
And
preliminary design for a temporary
a
fix.
temporary passage to get through there during the winter.
Okay. Okay, so who advised, okay, person to contact, so the Du Bois and King, are they out of the Springfield or the Randolph office?
I
Cause they have like a bunch
they
of
have a
them.
bunch of them. I don't know which it is.
I believe
Yeah.
it's the Randolph office,
Yeah,
but I'm not.
yeah.
Is it Randolph?
Yeah.
Okay, cause I found them both. So when they said it was clay, it was, I just wanna make sure I understand this, because a lot of people seem to think that I'm the person they get to ask all their questions from.
Good, thank
Um,
you.
So, the person who determined clay was the environmental people, not Du Bois and King's
Exactly.
engineers.
Du Bois and King engineers have not done, that is a very professional core sampling drilling system, not just a well that will go down in every few feet. They'll take out a piece, put it away, and then that will be shipped off to a lab and they'll say exactly what's there.
Yes, I read that. I
Yeah,
went
yeah,
onto their website. Very
Oh, good.
interesting. Yeah, they're
Very
quite a
good.
company. So you're, so I guess the point I want to make tonight is that I'm not really, I mean, I realize that the road getting fixed is a long-term fix. No one is suggesting, no one I talk to, no one in the valley is suggesting that this problem is going to be fixed overnight. We all understand from what we've seen in previous situations that it is a long-term thing, that it's going to take weeks, months, and years. So what everyone is interested in is getting the road open.
Yeah.
And getting a lane so that people can get in and out of the valley and can have
Yeah.
emergency services. And a lot of people are saying, you know, people who are in the construction business, actually, we've talked to Scott Jensen ourselves, and people are saying that there really is no need for the road to be completely closed. You've got instances like this all over the state. I mean, I've got a whole list of them here of roads with similar kind of slides that have Jersey
Yeah.
barriers along the
Yeah.
edge, what I asked for a month and a half ago. And yet, you know, still we're sitting here saying, well, we're gonna wait until this happens and wait until that happens. So I'm just wondering, if there's any consideration at all of opening up the road to one lane.
When it is safe to do so, we will do so, but all the thumb rules from all the engineers we've spoken to include the initial assessment by Du Bois and King, and they're putting something on paper, says it shouldn't be there right now, that the road should be gone, and it is absolutely not safe to open, that it's reckless to open. And we're not gonna open it with that kind of a physical assessment.
With
Yeah.
it, you know, because there's a liability issue of the people who are without emergency services. I mean, I think last
Yeah.
night's little example of the rescue
Yeah.
squad being
Yeah.
caught up in
Okay.
the stoplight is an
This-
example of that. too.
I agree. We're working really, really hard overtime. We're doing the absolute best we can and maybe a little bit more. We're pulling out all the stops and let's set an agenda item for this. And let's try and hold just, you know, public comments to, it's normally 5 minutes, but out of extraordinary consideration, we jump over that. So, because
Okay.
we know it's not good. We know it's
Okay.
not ideal. We wouldn't know we want to.
And so all the other board members agree with this decision that the road should remain closed? I mean, you're all adamant that this is the way we need to go?
I think we open ourselves up to all sorts of legal issues if we didn't.
Even if you put a
Follow.
weight limit on the road and said pass at your own
It's-
risk,
It's not up to us to determine that,
who is up to then?
the engineers. We have to wait for the answer, the proper answer. You can go out there yourself and say, it looks good to me, but that doesn't really hold any weight.
Well, neither does the opinion of people like you who don't really
Exactly.
know what you're talking about, yet you made the decision to close the road.
No, we're basing our decision to close the
Okay.
road on what studies.
Let's,
Recommendation is.
I gotta move on.
Okay, well, just know, gentlemen, that this impacts a lot of people's lives in a very
Yeah.
negative way.
Absolutely.
And so
We
we're
know.
waiting
Yeah.
and adamantly waiting for
We hear
something to
you,
move
and
forward.
we really want to move forward with it, and we're doing as
Okay.
forward as, going as
All right.
fast as we can.
And so just so I'm clear, the this televised thing is open to the public if I request a
Yes,
copy of this, I can get
absolutely,
it.
yeah,
Fabulous,
yeah.
thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
You know, lives are disrupted, so. Gotta keep rolling. Can you, what the name of the environmental team, if it's appropriate to give from, I don't know if that's public information,
I
but,
mean, wetlands is all regulated by ANR.
okay, all right. Okay, just a little bit over, health order?
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, this is the first one that I'm doing. I don't know if the board has experience doing this either, but I believe what happens now is you are convened as the Board of Health, with Chris, you as the chair of the Board of Health,
Okay,
to go back and look at the health order that I had issued, or requested to issue as a notice of intent.
yep,
Okay, so you all have a copy of that. It was issued back in August, but I revised it, reissued it in October 1, because technically October 1, I became the health officer.
yeah,
So.
sure,
Make sure that we're all clear. So, what that stated was all the background for Mr. Tuller's property, and I just met Mr. Tuller here tonight. Stating that I picked up the job after Tim. But collectively, we've determined without doubt that the system has failed, the septic system has failed. Nobody's disputing that. And so what the health order is saying is that at this point, you gotta ring fence the problem, you gotta pump it out as necessary until the solution is acceptable by the state, which would be acceptable to the Board of Health and Renton. So what I'm requesting right now is first that we adopt a health order, and then give an opportunity for Mr. Tuller to say whatever he would like to say in his defense for why he may or may not comply with the health order.
okay,
So, I mean, the health order is, as it was written, basically, aside from the procedural rights, it says that you've got to pump the septic system as and when it's required. You've got to tape off the affected area, spread line, neutralize the affected area. And then you need a complete on-site septic system replacement, including piping, leach fields, and all that has to be evaluated to be in good, safe working condition by the state authorities, which in this case would be out of Springfield. And that would be the Department of.
The only problem I have with that is that when I bought the property, it was already been signed off by the state as my alternate system was to hook into the town sewer. So I assumed that none of this would ever happen because when the system failed, I just hook on the system, then I find out the system knows that I'm not fine.
Yeah, I need, at this point, you gotta address the board.
Yeah.
I just present this.
is that in the deed or in the transfer?
Well, I'm sure, I remember it, I told you on the phone, I've gone through a divorce, I have no idea where all the paperwork ended up.
Okay, well, how about this? Are you able to pump it as required?
Well, at $450 a time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
I know, I had a failed system that I had to work with and for a while, and it is absolutely no fun, but it's, you know, it's one of those gotta do's kind of things.
Because the state would accept hooking onto the septic or the town doesn't mean the town agreed to do
Yeah.
it, however.
well, we need to, what I'm gonna propose is if you agree to the mitigation, which is to pump it, by the next select board meeting, we'll check the paper that we have and see where that stands. But I just want to be clear for the record, what your understanding was. That,
Well, my understanding was that my system failed. That's it, my alternate, the thing was to hook onto the town sewer. But then, I mean, and then I find out that it doesn't come up, only to Harold Jacob.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but I suggested running a 4-inch line down
Yeah.
the road, and then I hear, oh, maybe there's not slope enough, and maybe
Yeah.
a pumping station and all that. I mean, I'm not in a position to spend $35,000.
Yeah. Well, we're at a disadvantage. We don't have the record in front of us. So let's get there'll be a deed, there'll be a transfer of the official transfer of that deed, and it'll be in the town records, and let's pull it and see what it says.
And I know I read all that before I purchased
Okay.
property, so.
Well, let's, what may be appropriate is to adopt the health order. You'll agree to it. And then by next select board meeting, we'll have the paper. You told me you don't have it. Now, I'm guessing you don't have that. We will, yeah.
I don't know who ended
Okay.
up with it, so.
Okay, we will, on that side, pull the paperwork and see what it says. And then we'll be dealing with what the record says, next time. So, you could, if you want to, go to Carmen and pull those records too. She'll, allow you to do that. And it might be a good thing for you to do as well, okay? So,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
maybe, maybe either Victoria or Carmen would pull that and they could be scanned and sent to all of us and to John, kind of one-stop shopping.
kind of a Walter thing, don't you think? We
To
probably
all-
asked him
well,
to do it.
But I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna wanna see a copy, so.
Well, somebody
so
will. If I have to, I'll pull it. But it's a little bit of a effort to find and pull, not much of one, but it's about a 30-minute to an hour job max.
You think it's on the deed when you purchased the property?
Yeah, I know, John, that I read it,
Yeah.
that.
Who'd you buy it from?
Because Polly Morrow, because
You bought it
and
from Polly?
they were gonna sell the property up on
Okay,
top.
yeah.
On the hill.
So they had that done, and I'm trying to think, I think Ian McKenzie's the one that did it. And when they did that, they did the subject for the house also.
Yeah, it's easy enough to track the property transfer. deed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's-
There
So-
was some workup that was done also, and Walter has a copy of it.
Okay,
This is the property that was owned by the buildings.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a schematic that was done for a couple of the buildings, that shows the sewer line, going to in front of the house.
okay.
Because somebody had at least at one time looked at the pitch, the elevation. I don't know what detail I got into.
Yeah. Well, we'd like you to commit to pumping it. We'll put it on the select board agenda for 2 weeks from now. Is that gonna be enough time? I think it will.
Just to let you know, it has to be. I think it's 233 feet. And it would have to pitch, I'm gonna say 8 feet from where it exits the house home right now to the manhole. So, and I would think to be the minimum amount, and I don't think that it's there. So that 35 might be a good down payment, but if it takes a pumping station.
So, when this has all been agreed upon, how can I be responsible for that?
Well, let's don't deal with the hypothetical. Let's see what the facts say. And there'll be plenty of time to get,
If
know,
it's gonna cost
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you folks have always owned another piece of property, so.
well, let's don't go there until we have to. And we don't know what it says. You've got a distinct memory. I see there's somebody's looked at this before. Maybe there's something here. So let's find out what it is and work on it.
As I said,
Yeah.
this is supposed to be part of my retirement, I still work 30 hours a week, and I'm just about to turn 73, and I'm not gonna be able to work
Yeah.
forever.
Well, I know where you are. I'm not far behind you and I know that feeling. So, okay,
As long as we have an agreement, because I was at the property last week, and it is, as you know, running into.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's so wet there, I'm sure 6 hours after you pump it, it's probably full again,
Only if it's a good rain, you only have the one unit that's rented, so it should take.
Yeah, and that's also costing me money because I haven't rented the apartment upstairs because of the
Yeah,
sewer problem. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
yeah, I hear you. These are never easy,
Yeah.
but I think that's, am I missing some smart people on the board? I mean, is there something else we can do?
Yeah.
It might be to Mr. Teller's benefit to contact the state. Wastewater regulators, they will send a representative down. Look at the situation and say, you know, this is maybe your best option, and they will help you to figure out, you know, find an engineer, discuss your options, and connect you with other resources that might be available to you. The state does have some grant monies available for folks.
Right.
well,
We'll
that's
have
what I was
bills.
just wondering, with all this infrastructure money that
Yes.
has been given out, we're going up by my place and down the college side it was all blueprinted and it was supposed to be done, but the town ran out of money, so they decided to stop just before my place, so.
You mean a long time ago, or?
You know, when this sewer system went in.
Yeah.
In the first place.
The other thing is the window of time for grant money is right now is literally November, December. The applications have to be in and there's sizable amounts of money available for each system. And, but there's probably gonna be, I talked to everybody in the state and their brother and sister. And, there's probably gonna be 200 applications for 15 places, but, I think it's worth the effort for several $1,000s to hit this window of time, and I'm not exactly sure. But if you called the state, they would dial you into who to contact.
I'm not good at this, cause if I could stop them.
Right, but I know that window of time, I sat here for 2 or 3 hours, finally got somebody who called me back and they were extremely helpful. And, but I know that there's a window of time for grant money and it's right now for next spring.
Do you have the number he can call?
I can gather the information.
Okay,
I think it might be on.
Yeah, but they're not gonna give a private citizen.
Yeah.
They will.
Yes, yes, it is grants for citizens, not for municipalities.
The state has no want or energy or desire to put your tenants out on the street because of the fail system. So you have that in your favor. They're looking for a solution.
and when you talk to them, tell them you need some help doing it. They also have people who can help you with the process. If you say, hey, this is not my strength doing paper, I need somebody to kind of help walk me through that, make that known clear with them. And
They're familiar with the property too.
yeah,
They're familiar with the property because, the state is so small. I can tell you that the person out of the Springfield office probably looks at an average of 4 a day for 200 some days a year. And the person is absolutely running around in track shoes. But they do call back and they were very helpful. There's a lot of information I took in these.
So you could give me a number that I can call,
Yes.
I'd appreciate it very much.
Okay.
and do you have my number? If you
Well,
give him, if you,
When I talked to you, I called
yeah,
the number here, but the number you gave me for the cell, I tried it and Verizon wouldn't put me through, so.
good old.
I
Verizon.
don't know if I
Yeah.
copied it down wrong
Yeah,
or what.
sure,
Can you CC him on an email?
yeah, let's, just, when you send him the number, if you could CC me, I'll send you my telephone number, because I wanna know how you're doing too. You know, are you being treated right? Are you getting, are they helping you? Are you getting the stuff you need to do it? And,
I don't,
yeah,
I don't have it.
yeah, I just want,
Where to even start?
well, we're gonna help with that too, so. You know, it's in the city's interest, it's your interest, and it's the tenant's interest. We all got a pull on this one, so we're not shoveling you off, it's just, anyway, you know where we are. So smart members on the board, what are we forgetting?
I think when we say we run out of money, that might have happened, but I don't think anybody here was.
Oh, and I'm sure none of
Yeah.
you were involved
So,
in that
but-
years and years ago.
But we can certainly go Pleasant Street, take that left,
South Street.
South Street. But I can tell you right now, North Windsor Street stops at just north of Magic Mountain, and I know that they would that group of people would probably love to tie in, because if their system ever fails, they're never gonna get out of it.
Well, I know when I talked to you, you said that you thought that up my way, there was a couple other people that would.
Well, the next person did, since we started this process, so I think they extended a little bit, and when I pulled up.
Oh, was that the digging that was going on about 2 months ago?
Yeah,
Deep trench?
probably a little further than 2 months, but
Okay.
as time goes,
Yeah,
but
July? Yeah, that
yes,
was-
and when I pulled up and met Wind River the one time, Simon was our person who was subcontract the wastewater, was on site on Pleasant Street. With a camera going up to make sure, to see how far up closer it got to your house, so that the next place could tie in, cause when they put in the last manhole, they don't stop it there, they extend the pipe out so that they don't have to dig that right up to the manhole and tie in, they extend it further. So the next person has tied in since. But it's a small fraction of 233 feet.
Got it. Got it.
So what used to be Rita Jacobs' house is not on this.
I don't know people's names, Jerry.
So Rose was who tied on Peter Chap's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the very next
Wait.
house is not on it.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I don't believe the other side of the street is either. So, long story short is, if they ever had a system failure, they will never, they would have a very difficult time getting a system onto that. It would behoove us. There's a lot of things going on here, but it'd behoove us to.
Well, let's, that's a very good point. Let's look at the big picture and see how it all comes together.
The other thing, which is way ahead of everything, but, you know, there probably could be a septic in that field across the road if the owner would go with that.
Yes.
That might be a whole lot cheaper,
Yes, it would. You're absolutely correct.
and you'd have some elevation drop there.
Across the road or adjacent?
Across. Kind of across Pleasant Street and maybe a little bit to the right. There's a field there.
Okay, because there's a big.
Well, it's full of trees now. It used to be a field.
It's pretty wet. I've trudged
well-
through there.
The other end of it, it kind of drains down the back, you know, back of Sylvia Spain's house, but.
Well,
Okay,
The only thing I don't understand, if, unless I'm mistaken, is how can the state sign off on it, saying that it's the alternate plan if it's not feasible?
Well,
Or it's not been.
I think they could sign off on it because they didn't designate who paid for it, honestly.
Well,
I think
but
that's-
but you can understand, Tim, as a buyer, I look at that and I said, well, I'm never gonna have a problem.
But you saw it in the paper, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, let's see what the paper says.
I've written a good picture, the state seal and everything it was separately done for, because when Polly and Helen had the property up on top done, they had that all done too, and in the state, the alternate system was to hook onto the town. And so I assumed when I bought it, it was there.
Oh,
Is there any way to get the proper slope by going, I don't know if you can do this, but go under the railroad track and hook down on, South Windsor Street?
yeah.
You mentioned.
I thought about that too.
Yeah. Going to, yeah,
Some
let's,
potential there,
But
Stuart, but
you need that much
it's
slope.
extraordinarily expensive
yeah,
I'm
and
just thinking a
requires
quarter inch of
cooperation
Yeah.
on the part of the
I'm just thinking a
road.
quarter
It would
inch
be
of
a
slope.
number of
Yeah.
years.
If,
to be able to-
I'm thinking
Put
you're
wheels on
gonna
that.
need 80 inches,
But there is some.
somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, let's get the facts.
I'd like to stay on
Mr.
Jacob.
Chair.
Things like that can be awful deceiving, you've been in the bill, because I mean, you see it, and it looks like it only goes like that, but if you got a quarter of an inch of that distance, the whole distance, you've got the slope you need, so.
No, you're right.
we'll get the numbers.
Mr. Chair, can I make the motion that we adopt the septic health order that was issued in October?
Motion
Is
made,
that what we're looking to do?
is that what you need?
You know, we gotta
Okay.
start there.
Yeah.
Motion made? Seconded? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Okay, so adopted, and just of note, the owners agreed, and we're gonna come back and look at the data again, next meeting. Do we have room? We're gonna have to make room, I guess.
You'll have to make room.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, cause maybe the ideal thing is to get to, because I wanna sell a property
yeah,
and.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody shouldn't play it like this.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, but I will need you to, once I send you something that says, hey, I think we're in contact. I want to hear from you, every other day on how it's going, okay? Do you text or do you?
I text, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a computer.
Yeah, okay,
I
well,
don't have
just,
any email or
you don't have
anything
to
like
call me, just text me, so far so good, or hey, I'm stuck and I'm not happy.
that.
Okay.
Hard-headed open-minded that thinks that internet was the worst thing that ever happened to our
Yeah,
life.
well, I'm not sure there's a lot who disagree with that, but anyway. I'm not sure cell phones are a good deal.
Well-
I liked it when, there was a 6-foot cord on your phone and that's all you had to worry about, but anyway. Okay,
So we all.
Mr.
set?
Teller, I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
appreciate everybody's
Yeah.
time. Very
Sure.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
like,
I'm sure we'll be.
okay,
Talking a lot. Okay. Very good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
thank you. And thank you, David, too. Thank you. Um,
I think you might have some more public comments up there.
Anybody have their hand up? In the internet Zoom land? Hearing nothing? Let's go ahead to Highway
Here
Department.
comes back.
Hi, Stuart. Hi, board. I don't want to take up your time. I know I'm not on the agenda for today. I'm asking if I can get on a future agenda to talk about public safety in Royalton. Myself, my neighbors are afraid in the acute because of an individual who lives behind us. This individual and his brother are also terrorizing folks on the other side of the river. We understand that the police are doing a good job. What I want to know and what I'd like to share with the board is my personal experience and information sharing and gaps with that information with the Vermont State Police and the Royalton Police, and what, if anything, the town can do to support these efforts of both of these law enforcement agencies who are probably short-staffed and maxed out with their calls. In this particular incident, this individual made a 911 call 6 hours before he broke into my house on Monday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning. Royalton Police went up there. They saw he was clearly in distress. They filed an incident report. They knew he had weapons. I understand they didn't have probable cause to take his weapons or take him into custody, but the VSP didn't know about this either. 6 hours later, he walked 4 minutes down the road, broke into my house, and it took 20 minutes for VSP to respond, and they did not know about the earlier call. We found out about it. We faxed it over to the state's attorney's office, and that allowed us to keep this in place. Without that information, the judge would have denied bail entirely because it wouldn't have proven that this individual was a potential flight risk, which is the only statutory condition that the judge looks at to determine bail. We were lucky. We were able to gather all this information up and get what we needed. Not everybody in town is going to be as resourceful as my husband and I are. And it is something that I think we could do better. And not that the select board has the ability to do any law enforcement, but I just think that it's a discussion. We've had more people contact us asking us what they should do. And we are not the individuals who should be answering those questions. I'm also reaching out to John O'Brien and Dick McCormick to see if I can have a phone call with them. And Ward Goodenough has spoken to me about some gaps in, legislative authority. But I want to start with the select board and just let you know that this is a great place to live. I've lived here for 23 years. I was a chair of the planning commission. I love this town. I never used to lock my doors. And this is not a trend that I want to see follow and continue. And anything that we can do to make this stop and make it better for people to live and not be worried about who's going to be in an alley or who's going to be on a street is what we should be doing. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I do think this is an important issue for many residents in Royalton right now.
Agree. Thank you. And let's get you on the agenda. We may have to have a special meeting on it. I don't know. I think we're filling up, but this is urgent and probably need to address it. You're not the only one, as you said. Do you want to put it on the agenda now or move forward? How urgent is it now? I don't think we have the information.
I don't.
I think we need to get more of the facts on the table and then who could. So we've got some homework to do. So I don't think we're ready to talk about it now. So, and I think next week, is the acute challenge going to be a problem again in 30 days or do we have that long?
So I think we should gather up information. It shouldn't just be what happened at my place. This is happening on Moses Lane. This is happening, at my place, Avery Lane, Route 14, which is where we are. And I would be more than happy to direct people to go reach out to you that I know have reached out to us who've had similar issues. But even today, when our son was at football practice, somebody came up and said, oh yeah, the alley behind Carlita's now is no longer safe. This is crazy to me to hear this.
You said, let us do some homework. Come back next time for public comments. We'll tell you what the result of that homework is, but it sounds like we may need a special board meeting just for this.
I do, and Chris, I would add that I think we need to have the players in the room who can answer those questions.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
RPD and
Yes.
a rep from the Vermont State Police.
Yep.
Because there is a serious disconnect.
Yep.
Sounds good. Let me know how I can help.
Okay, come back on the next meeting and keep pushing. You're doing great stuff for the community. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you just make sure you get a hold of Victoria so we can connect that way?
She sent a letter
Okay.
in, earlier today.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, Beth.
I've been waiting all night to hear about graders.
Okay, I'll talk to Loretta tomorrow and see how fast we can assemble something.
I think it'd be great to have the constable here too. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I just want to know what the state of the documentation is, and then where that takes us, where we can go. The VSP and the state respond well when they have these things to look at, and less so when you're talking, they want to respond, but paper is much better. Highway Department. Somebody is anxious to get a grader update.
Wyatt's got all the parts and he got them yesterday, he had busy today, but he's coming tomorrow, start putting the grader back together.
Oh, very good. What was the problem? Just,
A valve did drop in the head, the spring broke and it dropped down. The piston hit it, but not very hard, he said it didn't hurt You don't think it hurt the piston? or
That's
anything.
amazing.
He looked at the cylinder walls in the motor and he says, there's no signs of wear in the cylinder walls, and you can still see the hash marks.
Yeah.
When they built the motor, when they honed it.
Yeah, sure.
Really?
The hash mark, said the cylinders aren't worn or anything, so his advice was just put a new head on it. He said we could rebuild that one, but he said cats are known to have heads cracked, so he thought just going with a new head would be the best route.
The bill that's in the, in here for $3,000, what's that cover? From Milton
From,
for the cat?
for the cat, that there was probably, had to have a new muffler and
Yeah.
they got filters and
Well, those were,
and they went and pulled the valve covers off and see that
so it's inspection? It's inspection of the engine, is that what it is?
well, they had to get a new muffler, cause that broke out around and everything, so they did that and they could put the filters in it and then, because I told them it was skipping, it acted like there was an injector that was bad, because it wasn't making any rapping noise or banging or anything, and so they pulled the valve covers off and saw that the spring bolt of the valve had dropped down, so. But that there was all service. Nothing to do with.
Yeah.
The motor, that was.
Yeah. It's a separate deal, separate route. That was other separate maintenance on the thing. Okay, that makes sense, because a head's gonna be more than $3,000.
Yeah, probably it had, guessing right around 4,000 for the head and then.
Well, that's
the
not
other
bad. That's,
parts and whatnot.
I'm surprised. Well, good. Okay, any more, Stuart, you need on the grid?
No,
We good?
I just was,
Okay,
the bill in there lists the muffler and it lists a few things, but,
yeah, yeah,
there was another charge that didn't really have an item.
okay,
I just was curious
all right.
what they were charging you for.
What's that?
I was curious what they were charging on that bill, because some of it's detailed, but some of it's not.
It was taken when they, but there was a couple pages and they had different things on different pages. Mark, but they come down, they did they give us muffler, they had to get the muffler and lights and I think they had filters. And one of them there, we went, because I thought it might have been fuel filters when it first started acting up there, the smoke and whatnot, so we got fuel filters from them, and I think they might have brought, when they come down to recheck, they might have brought the other fuel filters, which I had at the shop, and they put the new muffler on and everything, it took everything, had to take the head, the hood off and side stuff off, and they did it, valve covers to get them off and put back, so that's all labor on.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
No parking signs on Chelsea?
Here's your chance to, comment on the parking on Chelsea Street.
Well, the road is just not wide enough to have parking on both sides of the road.
But
Cars on both sides, especially when you get a big truck. And like a school bus, even to make the swing out around, it's tight to be, but if there's parking on both sides, you're coming up to, somebody's coming down, somebody's gotta stop and wait for them to come through. And in the winter time, we're running wings on the plows, and I don't know how many times I thought I took the top off a couple of cars wings up, but it sticks out 2 feet or so beyond the side of the truck, and it's just not wide enough there for 2 lanes of traffic.
So I'm gonna push back a little bit. So when you come up Chelsea Street, it's 28 feet wide, and I think we eliminated those parking spots. But when you get closer to the corner, by the books of barristers or whatever, it's 44 feet, which would lend itself to being able to park there. They don't park on both sides there, do they? They only park on one side, on the bookstore side, on the law school side?
There's parking both sides.
Okay.
So that with it on the bookstore side there, it just makes it narrow. You can't meet through there.
So a bus and a plow can't meet.
Or two big trucks can't.
Right.
And it's tight with two pickups.
'Cause we gotta change an ordinance, correct?
Mhm.
In order to do this, so. I didn't want to be the interpreter, I wanted to hear it straight from the road person who's been there 26 or 7 years.
It's just not safe to say, somebody has to stop. There's not room enough when you got cars parking. Both ways, especially where you got delivery trucks and everything else, fuel trucks. And our trucks, and it's just not what, somebody has to stop.
Yeah, you're gonna hate the sidewalk design. With the bump outs in the water trough and everything else. But no, in all seriousness, we had the engineers who are doing the sidewalk project and stuff. Engineers probably hate them, but it shows that it should work. With parking.
Everything works on paper. You've dealt with engineers, architects.
Yeah.
I-
I'm related to them.
I just say, the way they park there, it's just not wide enough.
Okay. So we would have to change our ordinance in order to make that change. 'Cause right now, I think we did it. Well, where I think we should have done it, right in front of the law school, right in front of like Theron's and down towards the bridge. But we're tight on parking everywhere. So,
Yeah, they don't need to park on that side of the street anyhow. There was time parking there before, but cars will park there, well, they still do, park right by no parking sign. And the car stays there cars stay there all day long.
I know.
We should.
There's a no dog on the green sign too, and they park.
We shouldn't be having to provide parking for the law school, they got their own parking lot.
Okay. So I don't know what anybody thinks, but I wanted to hear it straight from them.
Sure. But you're saying that whole side of Chelsea Street should be no parking
Yeah.
from the bridge right up to
Yeah.
North Windsor.
Anyone?
That feels like a lot of parking going on.
I agree.
Cause it's from, thing is, now you're supposed to be able to park in front of Theron's up to the corner. But people have been parking in front of the Ashenberg house.
How much room do you need for I don't want to re-engineer it here again, I mean,
No, I think they did
Yeah.
it, just looking at our.
yeah. Is the diagram that the engineers prepared wrong?
Well, they didn't prepare it, same sidewalk engineers.
Okay.
Just looked
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
existing condition and said it
Yeah.
should work,
Okay,
so.
suggestions? Do we need to get somebody to look at this?
I don't like the idea of taking out handicap parking. Is that used for the legal clinic? Where's the legal clinic these days?
There and
In
there.
that same building.
Yes.
next to
So
Bear
you got
Shop.
potentially somebody who's disabled coming to get legal services.
Let's,
Could we compromise?
You can always compromise.
And instead of taking out all, what are there, 6 spaces we're talking about? Or 4?
How many? It's gotta be at least 4, maybe 6.
There's 2 in front of the old Frex building. Then there's one by itself in front of Barrister's. And I think
There's
there's,
the Valley Craftsman building. That had one in front of that, and then in front of Theron, there were 2.
okay, so that's 5.
Yeah. Probably 6.
Where's the worst pinch point? Is it when you're making the corner or when you?
Usually, especially in the winter time, because we got snow on the edge, they park right out the road anyhow, but it's not that wide up to there.
I
I'd
realize,
say it's all,
I think it's 44 feet, if I recall.
Sidewalk edge to
well,
sidewalk.
I'm wondering if you could leave, maybe the 2 spaces that are closest to the corner, if that's not the problem, or if that is the problem, then the other
That
two,
is for making swing,
you know, we,
especially, you know, how long a school bus is. To make the swing out or around, they have to come out into the other side
and
anyhow.
once you've made the corner, then you could leave a couple spaces.
You know, but then it's still, even down through there's lots of times to pick up. Somebody has to stop when they park there, there's just not room enough. I personally, I don't think there's wide enough for parking both sides of the street. They could put the handicap parking on the other side of the street.
Well, handicapped on North Windsor Street.
Uh,
There's handicap parking on North Windsor Street.
there is,
Yeah,
so they got it there.
on the corner there.
I think I think we have to have a certain percentage based on the total. That would
Yeah.
be my guess, there's gotta be some sort of equation for that. So if there's 100, I don't know, if there has to be 5. or 10 or something.
I think they have to be a certain distance too from,
Yes.
you know, you can't, have to make them walk too far.
Maybe we need to have a field trip.
I think that either, either, you know, which I don't wanna believe, there's a different way the state wants us to turn our snow plows. And their drawing is, based on a different kind of turn than Demi does, which I'd have a hard time seeing, or, you know, there's, you know, the drawings aren't right, and I don't know which one it is, so,
But even on the straightaway,
yeah,
when they're parking, where both are going straight. If there's cars parked both sides, you got two full-size pickups or big trucks or fuel trucks. Somebody has to stop and wait for them to come by their cars. There isn't room enough for you to fit up by there.
But we've been stopping at Vesper Underpass forever. I mean, how much of the day are we spent stopping and how much of the day does traffic go by smoothly?
But as far as a safety issue,
there's a lot of narrow roads in Vermont.
it's like that, and they're saying you can have, according to your road, you got one sort of in the middle, it's saying there's 2 lanes, but there isn't wide enough. Like, the lane happens to scrape along one of the cars parked, who's liable for it?
Oh, we're gonna.
Demi needs to take us on a road trip, I think, so we need to schedule a,
Can I just, when I started practicing optometry, you could park on both sides of South Winter Street. And then they knocked it down to one side, and then they knocked it down to 2 sides, and I moved, and then they said, we wished you hadn't moved, but they hadn't done anything to make it friendly.
Right.
So, you know, we talk about we want business in the town, and then we just make it harder.
Yeah.
But then people parking there aren't for businesses in the town, they're for the law school.
Well, if it's a legal clinic, it's for people that are from the town or other town. I don't, we can look at
yeah,
it, but
but this is gonna, the discussion is gonna go longer for the time we have, so, we need to schedule a time where Demi can show us what's going on down there.
I'll bring 100-foot tape because I think.
Yep.
If 44 feet is supposed to work, it should work. It sounds like.
And if somebody could bring the drawing too, I can probably print it up, but if, that would be good to have as well.
All right.
And
When
then
you want to meet there,
thoughts, Mud?
One of these times, we can pack two big trucks right side by side right there, you can see how much.
That would be an interesting.
can we meet there Thursday?
There's a good time.
That give us time to warn it?
You don't have to warn a site visit as long as you don't take any action.
Oh, okay.
I can't, meet past 4:15. I have, like Kayla, I'm not Thursday.
I can only do Thursday morning. I can't do afternoon.
I can do the morning.
I can do Thursday morning. What time can you do it?
Three meet? I mean, all you're gonna do is take some measurements and I'm gonna agree with you.
Can you meet in the morning?
Not Thursday
Early.
morning. I mean, I'm. It's just how much time I can miss.
Right, right.
Yeah.
What about Friday?
Well, you're not working at my house anymore, so.
Yeah, that's right. You don't care. Yeah. So let's go Thursday morning. Who can be there, can be there, and somebody's, I've got a plastic tape, but it's.
I'll drop one on.
So, all right, if you have a 100-foot tape, that would be great.
I got it. What time?
Let's think about when there might be a gap in traffic, so we don't.
I
stretch
agree.
The tape and somebody thinks they're across the finish line.
I'm open anywhere, 9 to 12, so, somebody,
Say 9 o'clock.
9
Get it
o'clock.
over with.
School started by then.
Yeah.
School has started, okay, 9 AM Thursday. At the Barristers.
I'd also
Can you
like
be
to have
there?
you look at, while we're there, on North Windsor Street where the cars are parking on the sidewalk in front of the house just before Cameron Way.
Yeah.
That's never been a parking spot. They're using it now.
Okay,
Cameron Way goes down to the law school.
Well, law school.
Yeah, okay.
Just before the radio station.
Anything else, Deb?
No, I don't
Any other
think so.
updates?
Now, we gonna wanna meet there Thursday morning?
Yeah.
Thursday morning at 9.
You want two big trucks there?
I'm not gonna be there, so.
You want two big trucks there?
I don't think we're trying to make the most extreme, because we could close all the roads under the right conditions. I think we're gonna use a little common sense here too.
yeah, we don't need the trucks. I think we could get,
You can measure without them.
we can measure with the tape.
Okay, I'll take a measure of the distance from mirror to mirror and.
That'd
Perfect,
be perfect.
perfect. And then if you could let us know from wing to wing on the snowplow what it is too.
Well, I know, I'm running with the plow and wing down. It's about 16 feet.
Okay, You already know.
I do.
Well, the travel lane's only 11, so.
okay.
But, when the wings up, fix out probably 2.5 feet from the passenger side of the truck. The windows when it's all the way up.
Okay. All right. Thursday at 9 AM. Jerry, you can be there. I'll be there. John, you be there. Stuart, you be there. Good. Somebody bring the coffee.
Well, First Branch, right?
That's right. We don't have to bring the coffee.
We go to First Branch, we can meet Victoria there.
I don't drink coffee.
Oh, really? Not even at First Branch?
I know, surprising, huh?
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Other updates?
You said, you don't have any other updates?
Can we just talk about how the road sort of progressing as an update? I assume everything is going smoothly and all the contractors are doing their job. Is there any hiccups or?
G Hill open now?
No,
You said that.
L&M is still working on Gee Hill. They're gonna be replacing a 36-inch culvert there on Thursday. That's the last culvert on that section. We just published the RFP for the lower part. That's gonna require
The Canyon Land.
a significant amount
Yeah.
of fill. Northwoods is almost done on Brown Busy Hibbard. They're gonna be moving over to Prairie and Broadbrook. And Dylan is working on seawall. They were hauling top dress for Johnson today, and then he'll be starting on, Royalton Hill.
My impression it's going way better than it could have. And any hiccups have been worked out well between the highway team, Demi, Roger, and Ian so far. And we're keeping track of it sufficiently, right?
Yes, we will
Yeah.
have, one change order that we'll need to just finalize, because they discovered additional culverts on Gilman Road that needed to be replaced that weren't in the bid.
Okay,
They multiply over time.
They do.
Yeah.
I had a couple things.
surely.
So we met with Scott Jensen here, the highway team.
Yeah.
And, didn't realize he was a Soro grad, interestingly enough. And, he sat here with blank permits. And filled them out and said, you have your permit. And he did one after another, after another. He said, I'm not gonna go back and write this up and then send them out. He's like, I'm doing it live in person in live time, and he shot them all out, and he listened to all the back and forth about Gee Hill and the canyons is probably gonna require maybe someday a box culvert down the road, but sufficient to put the culvert that we have in stock in, that's been good for 20 years. I never saw an engineer from a government be so pragmatic in one spot and just give us everything we needed right there, just pushed them off and said, there, you're done.
Wow.
And, for Rick's Gilman, what, some part of Broadbrook?
Yeah.
And, it was just amazing to watch. We got our engineer, state engineer, Demi, Roger, Chris, and myself. It was pretty, good. And when Chris says it's going well, I echo that, especially when you have that kind of cooperation from your state.
Yeah.
I mean, it can never go fast enough to the people that are impacted, but compared to what it could be, you know, I mean. When I went to the Barnard Select Board meeting, they're on a 4-year program of some of their roads to get them back. You know, we're not on a 4-year program for any of our roads, so, you know, they have a different model they're working from, you know, works for them is not the same, but we're really doing our best to get these things open and get it going. And, if we're fortunate, that there's still potential for, the only one we're left is with the 82-foot slide in Broad Brook. So, just because of the delay in the driller who they really want to wait for, because he has the right kind of machine that drills the right kind of cores that can be analyzed, they're going to make a basic assumption that what they have on the surface is what they have below, which, by the way, may be wrong. But, and they're gonna try to come up with something where we can do a temporary or maybe part of the final fix or something to get something open for the winter. Now, it's likely not gonna be, I can't imagine it would be finished. It might be, but I can't imagine, and I can't imagine it will be open for everything. But, you know, if we can just get local traffic through there, emergency vehicles and a snowplow, that would still be great. Did Delbert contact you, yet from Barnard?
Yeah, talked to them.
Okay.
They're all set, so.
Okay.
After there, we can do the trading off.
Okay.
They'll do the main line, they won't do the side road.
Yeah, they, again, just, you know, the meeting with Barnard, I just, we're taking a terrible time, but necessary. They'll do the Broadbrook and the Playstead Road loop, but they're not gonna do Parkhurst, they're not gonna do Lovejoy. And you didn't do Maud Laura anyway, did you? Did you do Maud Laura? I don't
No,
think you
that's-
did.
That's not.
Yeah,
acceptable.
Yeah,
And they're not gonna do Earth.
and they're not gonna do Orsted, those 3 roads, but so it's about, I don't know, 1.5 miles or so, maybe a little more that they're gonna do.
We can subcontract.
Yes, we can subcontract, and we're gonna need to.
Usually, Chad or whoever plows, Chad Roger, he plows a lot over there. and
Yeah.
pick Up earth stacks and
Yeah,
whatnot, or Tom Pellis, lots of times he'd have them plowed out before our trucks got up there anyhow,
I
so.
like this guy. Good. Okay. Well, there are options and there are things moving forward, but again, a lot of people, a lot of anxiety up there, and the crescendo is getting quite loud over where I am. Let's say I'm one stop yelling. You can stop there, park your car and get out, come over and express your disappointment. And, you know, the bottom line is, you know, there are roads in the state that aren't gonna be done for multiple years and are hard closed. So far, we've been really fortunate what we've been able to, and we worked really hard with a good team to make sure that we have it planned, we have it documented, and we'll be able to maximize the potential for payback. That's not a guarantee. FEMA's never a guarantee, but if you do things appropriately, you have a good chance of getting payback. So, just one final, I did talk to John, as I said earlier to B, because we got notification that now it's gonna be November before they can get the right driller in there. Well, construction season is rapidly coming to a close to do anything. And a lot of it is that, the state won't let you do certain things after a while because you can't do erosion control. So it's not that, it's physically, though a big excavator can cut through a lot of frost in the ground, but you have to stop at a certain point when, and I think it's when it's about a foot down is when the state gets concerned. So we need to know what is the likelihood or the potential, and what would it look like to open up a one lane or whatever we can on that area. And so the D&K agreed to work on that while they're awaiting the drillers. So we should have something middle of November. So
I'm sorry, 1 second. Two things. I think we all said, or Victoria's brought it certainly to my attention a few times, if we had a road plan would get us eligible for paving grants and stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I figured that down way too much. But I think the road crew should stay together beyond these FEMA repairs, and maybe we do that. Secondly, we gotta start, I think Victoria might have started the RFP or started to think about putting it together for the North Road next year.
yeah,
Instead of going up there and seeing which culverts need replacing, just do them all. I mean, we're not gonna have the whole thing open up like we're gonna do, and I 110%.
well, I
agree.
agree. And if we can get an engineer to come up and tell us that all your culverts need to be, certainly they need to be geolocated, but I don't know if we can just blanket replace without a need in place,
You
can we?
certainly can. So we're talking about the North Road paving project, which is a class 2 road grant for $200,000 through the state. The rest of the responsibility is on the town to pay for that. So yes, you certainly could replace all of your culverts. And
I
I
see.
don't know if I chatted with Demi about it, but I did chat with Roger to say like, hey, what do you think? Cause we do have the geolocation. He goes, oh, those have been in there forever. You should just replace them all while you've got the pavement up. Otherwise, at some point, you're gonna be cutting new pavement to go.
And we're gonna be
Agreed.
cutting.
Otherwise, you'll be cutting payment. Absolutely agree.
So the other thing is, Chris, we might be going from 22 new ones to 30.
Yeah, I think it'd be more than that.
And well, I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
think there's 2.33 miles of something
Yeah,
like
I'll
that.
get the RFP drafted and send it to the board. So you know.
Okay, that would be good. And I agree, we can't let that drop.
Right.
So. Although there's not a lot of people who live on that 2.2 or whatever miles, a lot of people travel over it
Oh my God,
on the way north, so. All right, can we move on to committee
No.
appointments? No, we can't. What you got?
I got a special invitation to go down Mill Road on Saturday. And I met David. Actually, I met him and I stopped and he kept driving.
Yeah,
And I thought, well, how rude is that? And then pretty soon David came down again. And so it turned out the first truck was not David. I told, it just kind of looked like his pickup truck. I don't know.
I'm glad you shared that with us.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel better.
Yeah, there's a point there somewhere. The fill that we put on those roads going forward are not gonna, we're gonna put crushed rock in that formula is changing.
That hasn't been resurfaced
It
for a
hasn't been
lot of
repaired.
years. That needs to be resurfaced. all the stone, everything's been broke up and everything, so there's nothing left. That needs to be resurfaced.
Okay, well, I just said, going forward, we're just not putting the same stuff down, we're upgrading our recipe, and I just hoped I was
No.
speaking the truth, I thought I was.
That's one there for the last 5 years. I've been going to resurface it, and we just run out of time every year. That needs to be resurfaced.
Good.
Materials right down to just basically the sub base and whatever there. That needs to happen. Of course, there's extra slimy because he graded it Thursday and it didn't have time to get packed
pack
down
down.
and sealed up.
I heard about it.
On a lot of high pack roads there. Saturday and Sunday that were brush stuff there, and that sopped up pretty good too, so.
Well, there's
A lot of
been,
people have, a lot of roads got
Yeah.
sopped up with that rain,
Okay,
because they don't get packed, that chance to get packed down. But no,
To answer your question, yes, and we adopted a new recipe.
yeah,
good, perfect, thank you.
and the town has been very patient with us as a lot of our roads are being worked on. I think in general, people are happy to see the big work come out and going. I mean, it's not convenient. They're partial closures, but they've really been working with us, so we're really pleased with that. And we've got a lot of folks out, a lot of trucks moving, a lot of equipment moving, a lot of things happening, so. Anyway,
yeah, Tim sent me a text there, what was it, last night?
Well, I meant to send it yesterday, but
Yeah.
where I am in Thetford, nothing
So
goes through.
he's saying there on Mill Road, it's kind of sloppy, I'm going. Does he forgot I live on?
I think that was part of the problem. You take care of yourself last. And so I think it's a detriment that you're living on the road. You should move, really get it done sooner.
That does need to be resurfaced, there's nothing left on that.
Jerry saw me because I was in four-wheel drive shuttling people back and forth. who Couldn't drive on the road. They were parked down at the parking lot.
really,
Yeah, they tried, said we can't go any further, so they called me. So that's what I was doing, driving people.
thank you.
And some people look like David.
Rude.
And I went up Monarch there Saturday there, and that there, the mud was that deep going up Monarch.
Really?
That soaked up pretty good.
Muncie, in October.
Don't have a chance to get back down and.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on.
Please.
Committee appointments, Cemetery Commission, Heather Levitt.
Mr. Chair,
Need for anything more?
And Cemetery Commission,
Just,
Why worry about them? They don't have a complaint.
Jojo.
yes, Jojo.
Time for me to
The
leave.
cemetery commission would be delighted if you, the cemetery commission would be delighted if you appointed Heather Levitt.
I would make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jojo. And thank you for braving it out there to Barnard there too.
No problem. It's very close.
Now, you don't have to go around. Okay,
No.
Conservation Commission.
Lori Romig. I don't know who she is.
Brad, you can probably speak to her if you want, Brad.
If you don't mind, thank you. Yeah, we 100% endorse Laura. She's been coming to our meetings since the spring and attending events and doing stuff. She used to work for the Upper Valley Land Trails Alliance. So very beneficial to us. So we endorse her.
14 by Joan Hoffman. I think that's the one.
I'm sorry, what was that, John?
She lives on Route 14 next to Joan Hoffman and helped with your trail work Sunday. Yeah, okay. Good. I'll make a motion, we appoint Laura Romig.
It was second, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
We're getting real close to being on time.
Len,
We just made up time nicely.
thank you. Thank you
Thank you,
both, and,
Dave.
and thank you to Heather and Laura for volunteering for extraordinary service on the Cemetery and Conservation Commission.
Well, hopefully they both know they volunteered.
Well, I would hope so too. Oh, my goodness. We're not Shanghaiing anybody yet. I hope for any one of those. Okay, land donation.
Jim Good called me, months ago, offering to donate the 7 to 13 acre parcel where Eaton Sugar House was located, without strings. He first thought, it would be a good location for a rescue squad. But when I said we were working with Tunbridge and Sharon for one here, he said, well, that's a good idea. Take this land and sell it and put it toward that. You donate without any restrictions for the town to resell, so we don't get hooked like we did with Hope.
Should we have this survey first? Because 7 to 13 is quite swinging.
Probably should be or has been,
The
because he
property has
subdivided it.
been surveyed, but not as a whole. The subdivision line has been surveyed,
Okay.
between the two property lines. They were surveyed, everything around it has been surveyed. Yeah, it's pretty, there's a survey of the property. It's just not in one piece.
Can they come to a reasonable resolution on how much property it is?
It is, and I meant to do that today to find out how much it was on the tax map, and I did not.
Okay, so the tax map is accurate in this case?
Yeah, the tax map is very
Oh,
accurate
good.
on that, yes,
Well, that's an internet lookup.
yes, I haven't done it yet.
I heard the guy who's working on that map has done a really good job.
Right, yeah.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, discussion open. Well, we need at least a motion to discuss it technically. Is there a
I'll
motion?
make a motion.
Motion made?
Discuss it.
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Okay, discussion.
Well, you want me to tell you what, we had a meeting,
Yeah.
planning commission, and we discussed it. And, except for one person, we all said, take the property, but one person said, too much of a pain, don't bother with it. But, basically what people see it as is, it's too soon to know some of the stuff we can do with it. There is potential for, housing projects where municipalities have land and then they sell it to a developer for a discounted price, and they put in low or moderate income housing. And there's all kinds of programs about that, but we wouldn't have time to research that. So we came up with this kind of idea to set up a like a decision-making matrix. So we didn't envision necessarily selling it to the highest bidder, so much as we, on this decision-making matrix, it might be, we're willing to sell it for less to somebody who's gonna put in low-income housing. We're willing to sell it for crazy money if someone wants to put a McDonald's in, because that's not our top choice. But, you know, we could see, hey, if they're gonna give us 400,000 for it, maybe we can live with McDonald's. And then so on. So so we kind of look at what the public good might be. Everybody's very, thinks it'd be a great location to have exactly what was there.
Yep.
You know, a local restaurant or
Yeah.
a brew pub or something like that. Everybody's in favor of that, so that we'd have that sort of in the decision-making matrix too. And so,
Something to make Royalton a location of choice, you know, an anchor of some kind.
yeah, so we see that, we definitely see that as a possibility. No one's very keen on the idea of like McDonald's setting up or Burger King or something like that. But if we acquire the property, then we can sell it to who we want, quite frankly.
Yeah.
We don't have to sell it to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
We can set up this decision-making matrix.
So I see what you're saying. If we have the property, we can kind of enhance the probability that those things that would fill us out as an attractive community is greater than if he just sells it.
Right. Not necessarily sell to the highest bidder, so we might,
Yeah.
on this matrix, it might say, we're willing to sell to someone who's gonna put a restaurant.
Yeah.
For, maybe we'll sell to them for 200,000. So maybe it's a little below market value.
Yeah.
We don't have to get market value on it. Because first of all, it's a hard thing to establish what market value is. And secondly, it's free to us. That's just 200,000 in our pocket. So it's,
The spot is highly visible.
Yeah,
It's one of the most visible
Yeah.
spots. When
oh, yeah, I used to go to Eaton's all the time, I mean, look forward to it.
If we had a big enough billboard, you could see it from the interstate.
You can,
Right.
when you could. when it was
You could, yeah.
yeah.
I think,
70s.
Yeah, right.
I think it would be good if we worked with Green Mountain Economic Development on how to market it, because we're not
Sure.
realtors. And we're a member, we pay a dues, and they do this kind of stuff in other towns to find use for lands.
I think it should fit what came out of the, Vermont League of Cities and Towns gathering with the community
Yeah,
for priorities. And I don't think it's gonna change much from
No.
what everybody just said.
Agree, it's a good, all right, any further discussion?
Well, I'd like to know what the motion is.
I thought the motion was we accept the
to
donation.
accept the donation.
So can we either modify that motion or add it? Because I think the motion should say that we balance the cost with the perceived good for the town. And keeping in mind that we would like to move it along and not sit on it forever.
Yeah.
And I think those three things all become part of the equation.
I
That was
agree. I agree.
definitely talked about that.
Yeah.
We don't wanna sit on this for years and years.
Agree,
Because,
we don't want to be a landlord.
Get it back on the tax rolls.
right,
Yeah.
but we also need to make, figure out what our options are, which is gonna take us months to do that. But yeah, not years.
I think that specificity is good because there's a chance that all the players here could change.
It shows our intent.
It shows our
Yeah.
intent to the
Yeah.
next board.
Victoria, did you copy that modification,
That's why I record these.
okay. Wisdom,
Really?
All
Well, you're
right.
not even paying attention over there.
No.
no,
Drawing hangman, so.
I'm ready to.
Hang Walters.
all right, is there any further discussion? Are we ready to vote on the modified motion?
Do we have to turn the first one down and then accept Jerry's or is we?
I think
just
modify it.
On the. re-
Make it a combined.
If you do, if both agree to the modified motion, it probably is okay.
Okay, that's fine.
So is there universal agreement to the modification of the motion?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so the person who made and seconded are in agreement. Any further discussion?
I think once we vote, we need to let Jim Good know what our intention is. Because he is looking at it as a
Sure, yeah,
tax
yeah.
benefit for him.
he has his
This year.
requirements too. So with that, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and John, would you, do we need to have paper documentation to accept the offer? I think he made it in writing. So,
He's gonna need a number, right? He's gonna
Yes.
need a number for his.
he's going to
tax.
need a number. Well, let's have a, John, how about you
I mean, I'll-
working with Walter and with Good and just,
What number would he need?
No, I don't think he needs a number. I think
He just prepare the deed for the town.
And whatever
Yeah.
he considers as a number, it's up to him.
He
Yeah.
can say it's worth $750 million.
yeah,
Donald Trump does it all the time.
Yeah,
Now.
it doesn't matter to us.
We don't need to do, since it's a
Yeah.
gift, we don't need a number on
Yeah.
it. It's whatever he
yeah.
feels comfortable at, the value at.
Okay.
Yeah.
we need to get our lawyer involved as well in the mechanics of this, so we
Oh,
need
yeah.
to make sure that that's going, so. After, if we notify them that we are, the select board is in favor, we can set the mechanics of the land transfer up and have that go. So,
And what do we need for due diligence? Title search?
absolutely,
Who
absolutely.
we hire as our lawyer.
Yeah.
What do we need beyond that?
Well, I would like to see, to establish that, in fact, the survey is sufficient. Just,
It's-
Walter, if you could look
No,
at it,
it's sufficient,
okay.
it is, because I know that.
And the property boundaries are not in dispute, there's not,
It's, I know that for sure.
Let the records show.
yeah. That the town lister knows for sure. All right,
And guarantees it with his own finances.
yeah.
Because if
I don't think you
kinda
went
look
that
at the
far.
Survey, there was somebody's name that was on the survey,
Okay,
that's why.
good,
Who would
good.
our town lawyer be?
You don't have a town lawyer, you can contact VLCT and advise them of what the situation is. And they can refer you out, or you can speak with someone of your choosing.
I wouldn't want to go to Primer on this. This is not something they really do. You know, in the old days, we would have had Tavian or somebody like that do it, so. You know, land transfers are fairly straightforward, so. We'll, Victoria and I will work on who the lawyer counsel will be, and we'll let the board know. How's that?
Just want to let Jim know
Yeah,
too.
We really haven't had it since.
yeah. Yeah,
All right.
I mean, Giuliani, back when he was our, advice on high levels, would have just, given us, but he wouldn't have actually done the paperwork because it would have been expensive. All right, Victoria, do you have what you need on that? Okay,
Is there anything else you want from the planning commission concerning that?
continued extraordinary effort. Just, how long you would need to come up with that decision matrix
You want
thing
to
you
come
were
up with
talking
something like
about?
that?
Yeah, if you have, just what would be in the best interest of the sense of the planning commission, the best interest of the town is served like this. And this is sort of the apportioned benefit, look that we should give to,
Okay.
a certain type of thing, like if they were gonna put a Cracker Barrel, what would, that's at this percentage of value. If they're gonna put a McDonald's, what is the percentage of value? But don't go by name, but a fast food place,
No,
what would that be?
No, we won't
Yeah.
use names.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so-
a time frame. If we sell it to a low-income housing developer, I don't want them to hold on to it for 10 years.
And all of these will have to go under Act 250.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Pardon?
They'll all have to go under Act 250.
Yeah, even if it's a similar establishment than what was there,
Because of the time that's passed.
because of the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's 3
Yeah,
years.
but I think, Gio, that what you're gonna work on is going to be kind of like recommendations, but I mean, it can't be too hard and fast, because,
No,
we might get an offer that just totally
Yeah,
it's not on your
well-
radar screen at all, or
Correct.
if we wait longer, we might all of a sudden start feeling a little differently, but it was good to have a framework to.
Yeah.
kinda-
It will,
no, I get that, Jerry.
Okay,
and also
thank you.
it'll be a town vote, so.
yes.
So would that have to be, what happens if, does it have to wait for town
We could do a
meeting?
special town meeting, but it will have to be a town vote to sell the property.
Yes.
In the meantime, can we use it as Sled Hill?
Yeah,
There you go.
well, I'm gonna run into the wall.
That's.
That would hurt.
Traffic on the-
Yeah, that would hurt. That would hurt more.
I don't put us down in natural selection.
No, don't give anybody any ideas. We'll see snow machine jumps down there.
I just, I just wanna make sure everybody understands town vote.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm just gonna hand up.
Go ahead, Jojo.
Thank you. I just heard somebody say you'd need a special town meeting. Was that meant for accepting the offer or to decide what to do with it?
To sell
Or did I
property,
even,
to sell property, you need to vote on it. It has to be a town vote. To sell property the town owns.
to sell? Great, thank you.
But if the timing was right, it could just happen at the regular town meeting.
Correct.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
You the vote of the public to sell property.
Good.
You don't know the capacity of the septic.
No, it's all online though.
It is.
Yes, it's a,
I think we should look that up.
yeah, we can. Yep, it's all permitted.
When you said we, did you mean Walter?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you meant.
Okay.
I assume that.
All right, next issue. Town manager discussion.
That's next week,
Next week,
or
yeah, if we're ready. We haven't warned it yet, have we? No, so here's what do we need to provide for the town to have a sufficient basis to have a discussion? You all saw the resources that Victoria published. I think we're going to need at least one or two towns that have done it. If we can get some of their town managers to talk to, I think people would like being able to do that. We're going to need probably going to need some sort of legal backing, to say to answer the legal questions that are going to come up regarding we're probably gonna need a look at the, what's the budget gonna look like again if we do this? And the bottom line, people were gonna wanna see that the gained efficiency of the town is going to make our town sufficiently better that it's worth the additional money. And it needs to be clear what we need to come up with a list of things that the board will be delegating to the town manager, so that the town manager, these are his responsibilities. We're not gonna be signing warrants anymore. We're not going to be talking to Demi about who's doing the head on the cat and how's that going. We're gonna be doing policy. And we're gonna be doing long-term planning.
vision.
And it's a lot different. Although, when I watched another town do it, there was kind of a hybrid, going on there. So different towns work it differently, but it does free the board to do what we have a difficult time finding the space in the schedule to do. So, on the other hand, if you miss doing those things too much, like going out and measuring roads and those kinds of things, you might want to think twice about it. So,
Or become a town manager.
or become a town manager. That's right. So, I think experience from the towns who've recently done it, somebody there to answer the budget side of the house, somebody to provide, these are the puts and takes, these are the gains and the pluses, and these are the minuses. And then also somebody there to answer the legal side. I think that about covers it. Other thoughts?
Is it next week? Because
The November thing we talked about in the last
I'm
minutes.
out
You're fishing.
5 days. Well, a couple other things have come up, same area of the country.
Well, and when is rifle season over?
After Thanksgiving.
I think the town hall meeting might be better after Thanksgiving. We can start asking people and getting materials ready now
I think
for
they're
that.
getting the materials.
Yeah. So does that leave you in a bind for financials and other things? Victoria pointed out that if it's voted and the town agrees, we are obligated to do it then. We can't say, okay, now we have a year to start. You know, we'll need to
Yeah,
put it
pretty
into
quickly.
place. Yes, we'll be moving quickly if the town approves it. And then the board also needs to have a discussion and based on all the facts that will be on the table soon, what our position is. So, you know, you know, the way I'm leaning right now, the model has merit. There are some puts and takes on the board. There's some efficiencies and we just look at the money and look at the gains and look at the losses and see if the time is now. It's going to happen eventually, probably. It's just that is it now? And you know, the encroachment on skill set, knowledge levels, contacts are just requiring ever more from the elected population. And it takes a lot of time now, you notice, a lot of time. I'm lucky I'm not trying to make money by working right now, because I'm putting a lot of time in this. And a lot of it is just listening. And I think Victoria gets a fair amount of that too, you know, so
She's
You've done a really good
a
job
therapy bill
delegating
once in a
telephone
while.
calls.
yeah, so anyway, well, you know, lives are disrupted now. They are. I get it.
I think you're right about, I wouldn't get it too close to Christmas, but maybe
Yeah,
the right after Thanksgiving, when people have this
Yeah.
low
yeah,
and, people are honestly kind
yeah.
of everything.
And then it gives them time to mull it over between now and March, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that would be a really good thing. The only thing we haven't talked about that we need to is when are we gonna have the team assembled that can help people answer the crime issue that we're starting to see pop up in various locations. I mean, it's not just Harlow Road anymore.
So Beth was talking, Avery Lane is kind of, the development that's up and back of
Yeah,
Avery's house, right?
yeah, yeah.
On Route 14, right where all the old logs are, that's
Yeah.
all up and back there, yeah.
So, we do need to come with this, we need to come up with the town position and then some recommendations. I don't know what they are. We need to get the team together and we need to understand where the enforcement and then this legislative, you know, there is no cash bail anymore. So there just isn't. So
I think there's some momentum to do a neighborhood watch,
yeah, that would be
But-
very good to hear.
but it
Yeah.
has to be
Yeah.
done well. And
Yeah,
when I floated it in social media, I got some wisecracks that I just like screwed.
yeah, sure, yeah, that's,
But then there were some like,
yeah,
you call a meeting and it'll
Yeah.
happen, but it's a maintenance issue.
yeah, oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not simple.
No, we looked into it over on our side of the hill and you have to have somebody in charge, you have to have bylaws, you have to have meetings, you have documentation, you have reporting schemes, there's a lot of it. And you have to market, it's not just, let's have a a telephone tree and you're done.
I would like to know, like, what's the end game? If it's just a fancy way to report, then to me, it's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah,
What's the big sign on Judy Tucker's barn about leasing, watching?
It's the intelligence-based policing effort.
What is that?
It started pre-COVID. They had a little group going that was meeting with BSP in a couple of different locations. Pretty much just sharing information, you know, talking about ways that citizens can help, provide information to BSP. And that sort of thing, just a general discussion.
yeah.
Who facilitated that? the community, or they have an outside person come in?
I don't know who, started that charge. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything, at least since COVID, about public meetings.
Yes, Jojo,
You're on.
you're
mute,
muted, Jojo.
I thought I hit it, sorry. I went to the first meeting they had in Tunbridge, at the Tunbridge School about that, and it was before COVID. And I gotta tell you, the thing I remember the most about it was how terribly difficult it was to drive home in the driving rain, but it was basically Corey Chapman had started it with the help of some police. And for the most part, the people who attended wanted to know what they were gonna do about the problem, and the police kept saying, you have to take notes, you have to do this, and I really couldn't see that anything happened as a result of it. It was high expectations on the part of the public that they could come out and vent and get something done, and a lot of negative expectations, shooting down the expectations on the part of the law enforcement. I was very disappointed in it. It wasn't, I was disappointed in the forum. They didn't create a neighborhood watch, but
Can we
it
find,
had no solution. What?
I just wonder if we could find some place that does neighborhood watch that feels good about what they're doing, that they could come and talk to us.
Lyme, New Hampshire has, signs up with the admin. Fairly close.
Well, can we talk to somebody in the upper valley here and see if there is a successful program and what it took? Do you know of anybody? I don't right now.
I don't know, I mean,
Would John O'Brien know anything? Is that?
Well,
Loretta and-
well, let's talk to Loretta and see, she's not on right now, but let's talk to Loretta, she must know, and then we can talk to, state's attorneys or whoever we need to, but we need to open the spigot and see what we can do. I mean, the bottom line is, really, ROR, release on recognizance, so, that's the new thing, people with 200 court cases pending with rap sheets 200 pages long still don't have to go to jail. And so in the old days, they just kept them in jail. And so and it takes, it's just where we ran in, the disconnects appeared to be in the judicial. It didn't appear to be in the policing. And it didn't interfere with the public. It was that the laws in Vermont are very much in I don't want to say it, but they're very expansive toward the people that are committing the small crimes, not toward the victims. And
I mean, we have a law school here, maybe
Yeah.
you could help us.
yeah,
We keep hearing that the response time is an issue,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think people expect that we have a police force, we should be getting more,
yeah,
faster response from
yeah.
that. I understand the state police are hard to get a hold of sometimes and hard to get them to respond, but I think our police, what could we do anything with that?
Well, if we put on more hours.
Well, I mean, this.
So,
Just asking
and
the
let's,
discussion.
and let's open the discussion and say what it would take to get it, and what do we, if we triage what we expect them to respond to out of priority, that would probably be helpful too.
Yeah.
We want you to stop working that assault abuse case that you are in your office right now, and you go out and respond to whatever, because that's, that's the push, the amount of paper on those domestic violence and everything on up is pretty exceptional, and it's rightly so. So when do they stop working on what they're going and then go out and respond to something else?
It's the after hours response that's the problem. And I don't
Yep.
think they're working on the domestic assaults on after hours, because nobody's
Yep.
working.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah, okay. Well, let's, and let's look at what we want them to respond to, you know, and, you know, at what case do we, when they're not on, when the people are not on, do we have somebody come in anyway? And let's make that clear. I agree. You know, when you have this, you know, overtime's authorized, come in and go, you know, double overtime, whatever. So,
I think too, is like with the Vermont State Police, we had an issue in town a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And they're gonna wait till they have 4 troopers, because they're not gonna respond to certain things.
Yes.
With one person.
exactly.
Or 2 persons.
Exactly, you know, they, you know, that they have their,
Cause they were familiar with the
yes,
person.
yes, exactly. So, you know, unfortunately, the courts have a very different approach than they did 10 years ago. And that's a Montpelier issue. You know, there's a balance somewhere. So, but we need to get it out on the table. Maybe we can get state's attorney or deputy state's attorney to come and talk to us too. I happen to know the Waterbury one really well. Maybe I can get him to, not for reasons you're thinking, you know, but, you know, so he's a former graduate of,
You got that,
a
Jojo?
relatively recent
Yeah.
graduate of Vermont Law School. So, but anyway, but I've talked to him a lot about this, and it's the reality of the caseload and what the laws now say about what they consider low-level crime. And what we consider low level is not what they consider low level, is the bottom line. So,
What Beth talked about risk of flight tonight, you know,
Yeah.
we've not had that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
maybe,
those kind of trigger things are very important. What things are there that we can then look for to help the courts make those decisions that this person is a risk of flight and an ongoing danger? You know, what are those things? And that's a, and then we can know what to look for. And,
That's
you know,
really lofty, considering we're trying to repair 40 miles of road at 30,000.
well, you know, and to be honest, I'm in a steady state of I understand where you were. I'm in a steady state of tired now. You know, I mean, you know, I just, I don't have the, I don't have the energy that I had just before July. Anyway,
I would suggest we move to staff reviews,
hey,
if possible.
let's,
Pause for a second, because I assume you're gonna go into executive session.
yes,
We need a motion to approve warrants, and you added an alcohol permit to the agenda.
okay, is there a motion?
I reviewed the warrants and signed it. I did have one question though, in Rhines propane delivery, why there's 2 different prices for the amount of gallonage. The price per gallon. It seemed like we'd have one price for the town system.
Rita,
different day deliveries, the
Yeah.
price fluctuates every day.
We haven't bought into a program where it's stabilized.
No, Walter and I talked about that and brought it to the board. We're pretty efficient now. He didn't feel it was worth it.
Both of them are a lot more than I pay for propane at my house.
Who do you use?
Irving, they come to my house, my brother's house in Royalton Village, and house on the terrace.
Yeah. Well, maybe we need to look at it again.
Mhm.
All right, maybe you can just look at the price and I know bulk buys.
Too late right now,
Oh, yeah,
the beginning of
is
the
it?
season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Irving is still,
Yeah.
they say this week is still,
Yeah,
you're able to still capture their.
yeah,
Price,
I think if you
pre-buy.
agree, you're going to use, you know, 8,000 gallons or pounds or whatever they're selling it in, you, or so whatever, there's a number that if you agree to, they'll give you a bulk, a cost for that. And then you just agree it's gonna be over the next year or 6 months that you're gonna buy it, so. I still think that's available. Is it worth looking at? How much do we buy anyway? How much propane?
A very small amount of propane.
Yeah,
Because most of our buildings are fairly efficient and are utilizing splits and solar credits
Split
and
minis,
and
yeah.
that sort of thing.
yeah,
And
okay.
it's a small amount.
yeah.
Until,
Until
until the gas line splits.
Well, and that's, you all heard what the smell was, right? It was a split in the line in the ground. So that's what it ended up being. So, did they fix that yet?
No,
Yeah, okay.
it needs to be handed
dig it
out,
out.
and
Yeah.
it's gonna be about 30 days before Grimes can come back and.
Well, maybe we'll have the ground frozen by then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should uncover it now.
yeah.
Or put some foam over it.
It's a
So-
plastic line, isn't it?
I have no idea what's under.
Yeah, it's a yellow,
Is it plastic or no?
No,
it's,
it's plastic.
it's coated, it is coated.
It is copper?
I think it's copper coated.
Good. When I talked to the Rhymes guy, he thought it was plastic in there.
It's made for direct burial, but
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah.
sand is cheap, just buy a couple of yards of sand and
Yes, sand is cheap,
encapsulate.
unless it's a wetlands there. Is it wetland there?
We got the same thing right out here.
Okay, well, are we
So-
ready to go into executive session?
We got, we're gonna approve the warrants.
Yeah. Oh, yes, thank you. Motion made and seconded, all right, warrants, all in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the liquor license for D's Back Alley Eats.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, was Loretta say, have we had any trouble?
Carlita.
It's in the
No,
back,
it's,
it's in the back alley.
Yeah, okay,
Oh,
the police chief confirms through Victoria that no issues
Okay.
with that, so any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's,
Turn into a pumpkin.
Staff
Yeah.
review and wages.
yeah, let's go ahead and I'd like to, just because we're gonna be discussing performance and wages, I'd like to go into
Yeah,
executive
with
session.
names attached,
Yeah, so, anyway, let's,
with the select board only.
with,
No offense.
yeah, with the select board only, I don't think we need anyone else, so.
Inventory, you start downloading.
Okay, are we,
Got a motion and a second.
Yep,
You need to vote.
yep, thank you.
Aye.
Okay, motion made in second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.